I thought it was harmless to have a little fun with another guy before we tied the knot, but then
I caught my wife cheating on me with our wedding planner on our wedding day. Can you believe that she picked the most important day in our lives as the day to cheat? I have come across many women in my life, but none of them has been as disgusting and stupid as the woman I now call my wife today. Can you imagine the gravity of the situation at hand? There is no form of disrespect worse than stooping so low on your own wedding day. My fellow Redditors, I'm not just going to sit back and act like nothing happened. I'm extremely lucky to have found out the truth, and trust me, now that I know, that woman is going to get what's coming for her. It was so close that I almost didn't know the true nature of what happened. If I had been like one of those men to fall helplessly in love with a woman, I'd have been crushed like a freaking pie. I'm thankful that I did not listen to my stupid friends who told me not to be suspicious of my own partner. Lol. Maybe they expected me to blindly follow her like I was a fool. I don't believe in the concept of trusting a woman so much that you turn a blind eye to the signs that are obviously in front of you. I'd rather end a relationship because the woman did not like my alertness than end a relationship because I found out I was being cheated on. There's nothing more devastating than finding out that the man you've been paying to plan your wedding has been sleeping with your wife. Indirectly, I've been paying this man to sleep with the woman I wanted to marry. Well, technically, I'm already married to her, and that's what makes the situation worse than it already is. The discovery of something so deceitful is the most annoying thing ever. Right now, I can't even help but think that my friends could have been in on it. I believe this because they have been against all the suspicions I had for my wife. Anytime I brought it up, they'd advise me to forget about it and focus on the wedding. Oh, let me clarify something. I only saw signs of my wife's cheating behavior a day before our wedding. Why did I not call it off? Like I said, I saw signs. I was not sure. She did not give anything away. I could not just suddenly cancel a wedding with over 150 people in attendance just because I saw signs I was not sure off. Now, this is the part where I blame my family and her family. The pressure that people put on you before your wedding makes you blinded to everything just because you cannot imagine canceling all the plans you have made. Before I go on with this experience of mine, let me give you all an insight into the relationship I have with my wife and how I met her. My name is Daniel, and I am a 29-year-old man who is married to Andrea, a 27-year-old woman. I met Andrea at a friend's wedding, and the funny thing is that I even brought a date to the wedding. So, do you want to know how I left the wedding with Andrea? I think things got complicated that day at the wedding reception. The couple we were celebrating are very versatile couples who are hard party animals. They live for parties and a good time. So, of course, their wedding had numerous varieties of drinks and shots. We drank, and we honestly almost exceeded our limit. I can hold my alcohol very well. I can hold my alcohol insanely well, to be honest. But I don't know what those people added to those drinks. I got drunk for the first time in my whole life that day. I wasn't the only one in attendance who got drunk. Everybody did, including the couples. Andrea was not left out of the dunk squad, and that's how we started talking. I don't even know where my date went that night and how I ended up in my apartment with Andrea. The next morning was when everything came crashing down on me like a bucket of ice water. I had a one-night stand with Andrea. We all know one-night stands are not uncommon, but it was a big deal for me since I'm very particular about the people I interact with. For me to have left my date and went home with Andrea, I knew I had to be extremely drunk that night. My date did not contact me after that day again, and I was left as a single man. To my surprise, Andrea messaged me the next day after she left my apartment in the morning. I was surprised to see her message because I did not recollect asking her for her phone number. My fellow Redditors, the truth is that Andrea actually took my phone number from my phone that night. Yes, my wife was the one who made the first move. I admired her confidence, and that's how we started talking. We would hook up once in a while, but it soon got heated, and then we started dating. We dated for 4 years. And trust me, guys, it was an on and off dating. We weren't really a stable couple for the first 2 years. We would break up, then get back together again, and it went on and on. I really felt like she was my soulmate because we always seemed to find each other all over again. We dated seriously for 2 years straight, and that's when we decided to get married. I proposed to her and she said yes. That's how the journey started. To be honest, the wedding preparations are always the things that ruin marriage and the compatibility of the couple. If the couple are able to withstand the tedious wedding preparations and family rivalry, you can boldly say that they have a strong will to be together. To be honest, I'll say this to you all. Our wedding preparation was insane. Our families are the exact opposite of each other. They have different tastes in everything. Planning the wedding had to be one of the worst periods of my life. Her family wanted a big wedding, and my family wanted a small wedding. I had to put my foot down and let them know my wife and I hold the final say on how our wedding should go. Andrea and I finally decided to have a wedding that was not too big or small. We cut down the guest list to 150 people, and that's how we made it work. My fellow Redditors, let's get to the whole starting point of this story. The wedding planner who had been fucking my wife. We all know how it's always normal for a woman to take charge of the wedding planning. I mean, it's always the woman who wants the wedding to be perfect and dreamy, like she wants it. I never had a problem with Andrea taking charge of the wedding. To be honest, the wedding was bigger than I wanted it to be. Her family initially wanted a guest list of 250 people. I don't even know how they know that many people in the first place. We had to cut it down to 150 because I made it clear that I was not comfortable with so many people. I initially wanted just 90 people present. Having so many people only brought a bigger workload, but Andrea promised that she would handle things. I really didn't care as long as we had a wedding. But Andrea wanted to go big and extra. She spent nights looking at screens and browsing what the perfect wedding theme would be. At first, I tried to let her do her thing, but consequently, I decided to be a part of it. Not because I wanted to, but because I did not want to overwhelm her. Despite my desire to help, Andrea assured me that she was just fine on her own and didn't need any help. I stopped trying because I did not have the time to waste anyway. Andrea chose the wedding planner and I paid him. That was the arrangement. But I never expected our arrangement to end up with lies and unfaithfulness. My fellow Redditors, the wedding planner was a man. That did sit well with me because I hardly heard of cases where the wedding planner was a man. In fact, up until that moment, I didn't know that there were male wedding planners. I know they usually have male assistants or employees, but I never expected the head wedding planner to be a man. I did not suspect cheating because he was a man. No, it was far from it. I only doubted his ability to carry out the job, and that's why I asked Andrea why she picked him. She told me he was actually a very good wedding planner and that he was very popular in the wedding scene. I know nothing about wedding planners and their social presence, so I did not press further. From the designs he drafted off, he was actually very good at what he did. I made him go through a test my sister prepared, and he aced it. I did not have a problem hiring him, as long as he was good at his job. I do not have low self-esteem, so I was not troubled by having a man plan the wedding as long as he was a professional. Little did I know that this wedding planner was having the time of his life with Andrea. Now that I think about it, I'm really finding the whole situation laughable. This man was practically sleeping with Andrea nonstop, and I only found out on our wedding day. When I say I found out on our wedding day, I mean it was just barely an hour after our wedding and before our reception. But I'll get into that later. Let me tell you all what's really getting on my nerves. You know that it's a normal occurrence for the wedding planner and the bride to spend a lot of time together. They have to pick a dress that matches the decor, the perfect veil that will not contrast with the colors. They have to do everything together so that the bride is satisfied. For the groom, you're mostly just talking about your suit and tie. You have no business with choosing lipstick colors or jewelry. So naturally, I had barely any interaction with the wedding planner. During our wedding preparation, I took a leave from work, but I still had to attend Zoom meetings and try working on my computer. I had to make money. I'm sure my fellow Redditors can agree that wedding expenditures are outrageous. Nobody really cares how much you spent. They just want to see how perfect everything is. For me, it was the same situation. I had to work because I knew there's a life after the wedding, and we'd need to feed too. I don't consider myself a strict man, but I do consider myself a very intentional man. I don't like to lazy around or mince words. I did not hesitate to tell Andrea to cut down her spending. She was spending recklessly, and I was not having it. I warned her to cut everything down. Andrea literally took a whole month leave from work. That meant she was not getting any salary. I had to make her understand that money did not fall on trees. To be honest, our problems began from there. She got offended that I was telling her to watch how she spent my own money. Listen, I'm not a stingy man and I don't have a problem with spending on my wife, but I don't see anything wrong with telling her to watch how she spends money on irrelevant things. I still stand with what I said and there's no changing it. You should be able to respect money that you don't earn and use it for things that make sense. I mean, Andrea wanted us to have our reception on a yacht. Listen, if the guest list contained just under 50 people, I would not have a problem with that. But 150 people was just too outrageous. I was not ready to fund 150 people on a yacht. Can you imagine how much their feeding alone would cost? I made it clear to Andrea that we must have the wedding reception in a hotel. I did not leave room for debate, and I literally put my foot down on that one. I did not expect the reaction I got from Andrea. She began to act like a fucking spoiled brat. Mind you, this happened 2 weeks before our wedding. Andrea became rude and rebellious just because I changed the reception venue. I got so angry at one point that I told her I was going to cut things off if she did not change her attitude. She got scared and apologized to me. I honestly thought she'd keep to her word, and she did, but she did so in her own deceitful way. Even though Andrea stopped overreacting and trying to have an attitude, I still spoke to my friends about it. I told them I was not impressed with her behavior, and I explained why I felt that way to them. If Andrea behaved that way before we started our wedding preparation, I'd have taken a decision without consulting anyone first. But the reason I gave her the benefit of doubt is because I knew how stressful planning a wedding could be. I was stressed myself and understood that the tension and pressure to outdo yourself and make everything perfect can make you lose your personality a little bit. My friends brushed my concerns off and told me it was normal for women to become cranky during their wedding preparations. The married ones even narrated their own similar experiences to me and told me not to worry about it. If only I knew that my own experience came with a cheating scandal. Another reason why I did not give Andrea a hard time is because I felt bad for leaving all the planning to her. I tried to help her several times, but she turned my help down and told me she was just fine doing it alone. It's really not my fault that she took up most of the stress. Sometimes I'd try to input ideas and even help her, but she told me I was just adding to her stress. That discouraged me, and so I left her to do what she really wanted to do. So, as our wedding day drew closer, Andrea was back to her normal self. She stopped having an attitude and she listened to my inputs. I did not find this weird at all because I believed that she was back to her normal self because the wedding stress was coming to an end. I stopped trying to pry into her life and I stopped suspecting her movements. But 2 days to our wedding, I questioned everything I thought was true. We were already logged in at our hotel and we were busy getting ready for bed. Andrea suddenly got a phone call and she rushed out of the room to receive the call. I found this very weird because we never received calls away from each other. Even when it's a call about work, we sit with each other and take the call. There are even times when we put the call on loudspeaker so the other person could hear what was being said. So I obviously knew something had to be fishy if Andrea did not receive the call in front of me. I was pissed off and irritated at the same time. I left the room and decided to go search for her. I did not care how she'd feel if she saw me following her. A wedding was not a joke, so I had to be sure my wife was aware of that. I found her in the hallway whispering into the phone, and that's when I lost it. I walked up to her and tried grabbing the phone from her hands. She ended the call immediately and asked me why I disrupted her call. I asked her why she found it hard to receive the call in the room, and she gave the excuse of not wanting to disturb me. I told her I did not mind, and she was aware of that. Andrea tried to brush it off by telling me she was tired and that we needed to go to bed, but I was not having it. My fellow Redditors, I had to make sure she told me what the call was about. Andrea got annoyed and told me she was talking to a relative of hers who needed directions on how to get to the hotel. That was a lame excuse, and I told her I did not buy it at all. This is to tell you guys how vigilant I'd been, but I was still played like a fool at the end of the day. I made Andrea understand that her suspicious movements were only making me have second doubts about the wedding. She got upset when I told her that and explained to me that she was really talking to a relative. She even went as far as showing me the call log. The number was saved as Aunt. Well, my fellow Redditors, I just discovered that Andrea's aunt has a beard and looks like a man. Oh wait, he looks like our wedding planner. He is our wedding planner. I can't even believe the kind of lame excuse I fell for that day. Of course I believed her, and went on with it. How am I expected to suddenly guess she was lying to me? It's ironic if you think about it. Sometimes you get caught up in situations that are not ideal at all. I'm a witness to that, and I can tell you this for free, it's always irritating. There is nothing more annoying than being blindsided and lied to many times. Everything only makes sense when you have found out the truth. But before the truth is out, it's almost like you're going around a maze and you do not know the direction to take. One day before my wedding, I was practically going around a maze because Andrea was making me doubt a lot of things. My fellow Redditors, imagine what I was thinking when I saw these signs 24 hours before I tried the knot. The preparations were intensifying, and guests had started arriving. My colleagues from work and my relatives from far and near were present. Even my boss made it to my wedding. Everything seemed fine that day, until Andrea gave me a reason to worry again. I was not worried about her. I was worried about making a fool of myself in front of so many people. I needed to know why Andrea was nowhere to be seen a day before our wedding. Yes, Reddit, you read that right. Andrea practically vanished from the room, and I did not see her for a very long time. Anyone I asked told me she went shopping for a last-minute design for the wedding. I did not like how that sounded at all. The wedding planner was supposed to be the one in charge of running errands like that. I asked them why the wedding planner did not go get it, and they said he accompanied Andrea. Yes, I'm telling you the facts. Andrea left the hotel with the wedding planner to get whatever design she needed to get. You all needed to see how mad I was that day. I was practically livid. I did not appreciate the fact that Andrea left the hotel with the wedding planner without letting me know first. It felt like she was just going around making whatever decisions she thought were right. She did not consult me first. If I left the hotel like that without her knowledge, I'd probably be tagged the heartless fiancé who does not let his wife know where he's going. But Andrea did not think twice before doing what she did. Even then, I did not suspect that Andrea was cheating on me. I did not even suspect that she had anything to do with the wedding planner at all. That's just me telling you how secretive they had been. I know some of you might comment that I was a fool not to notice the signs, but that is just because you all already know where this is headed. I did not know back then. I could not even think of it. It's just like a woman finding out her husband is sleeping with her best friend who is her chief bridesmaid. Let's say she saw them together on many occasions, but she did not suspect a thing until she found out they were actually sleeping with each other. That's the same case for me. There's no way I suddenly thought about the prospect of my wife sleeping with our own wedding planner. It's not something that happens every day. When Andrea came back with the wedding planner that day, I pulled her to the side and had a very heated argument with her. I inquired where she had been, and she told me she went to get something for the wedding. I asked her why she did not let me know, and she said it slipped off her mind. I did not let her off the hook this time. I was so angry that I asked her if she did not want to get married anymore. She was surprised and asked why I was implying that. To be honest, that day we had a very long argument, and at the end of the day she apologized and promised not to be so careless again. It's not the best situation to have an argument a day to your wedding day, but it's not an unlikely situation. It happens a lot, and I know this because I've attended many weddings before. The bride and groom argue and have differences even on the very day of their wedding. Andrea begged for my forgiveness and told me the wedding stress was making her forget things, and that's why she forgot to let me know ahead of time. I thought about it for a while and decided to let it go. To be honest, I could also see that she was stressed with the wedding, but scratch that. I can now tell that the source of her stress was just as a result of her trying to juggle her secret affair with planning the wedding. Everything that happened to her during that period was all her fault. Andrea is to be blamed for how everything turned out. She made poor, deceitful decisions and thought she could be quirky about it. Now, let me tell you all what happened on the wedding day and how I found out she was cheating on me with the wedding planner. Our wedding day came and we were really excited. You know that feeling of satisfaction when everything you have worked so hard for is finally happening before your eyes? You feel content and extremely grateful to witness it. That feeling was no different from what I felt. In my case, I'd spent a lot of money on the wedding, So when I saw how it turned out, I was super excited. A day before the wedding, I had a bachelor party and so did Andrea. Andrea had a bridal shower. It was like a remake of how we met each other for the first time. Just like that day, we both got drunk and spent the night together. I woke up with a headache on my wedding day, but I was lucky enough to get some hot soup, which helped with the hangover. I did not see Andrea in the morning because she went to get ready. I also spent time getting ready for the wedding. It felt good to see our family members together. They all seemed happy for us, and I was really glad that they could make it. If I'm correct, there had to be more than 150 people at the wedding that day. Thankfully, I did not agree to having the wedding on the yacht, so I was not really bothered. After we said our vows in church, it was time for us to go get some rest before we went to the reception. Andrea had to go change her dress, and I had to go change mine too. I also wanted to take a shower because I was very tired. The reception hall was set up at that time, and some of the guests were already getting ready to go to the venue. After taking a shower and changing my clothes, I decided to go in search of Andrea. I forgot to give her the bracelet I bought for her the night before. I felt like the bracelet would look good on the reception dress she was going to wear. It took me some time to find the room Andrea was logged in because I'd not seen the room in the morning. We separated to get dressed and chose separate rooms to get ready. While I was still in search of her room, I was very excited to be a married man. I kept thinking about the bumps we had before getting married and how we met each other at a friend's party. I think it's safe to say that I was practically going down memory lane that day. I had to ask a worker at the hotel where Andrea's room was before I was directed there. I was so excited that I even forgot to knock on the door. I just pushed the door open, but my excitement vanished immediately. I did not expect to see what I'd seen that day. Not in a million years did I think that my own wife will be sprawled on the bed like a whore in her wedding dress, while the wedding planner that was under my fucking payroll was on top of her naked. It felt like the whole world had stopped and was waiting for me to digest the sight I was looking at. Andrea's wedding gown, a gown that I fucking paid for, was ripped off. They were having sex right before my eyes. They were so lost in the act that it took a few seconds before Andrea noticed my presence. I can still remember how her eyes widened infinitesimally and how she pushed the wedding planner off her immediately. I was then able to see the full state of her dress. She looked like a fucking hooker. Her makeup was smeared and her hair was scattered around the place. She opened her mouth to speak, but I grabbed the glass of water near the door and threw it at the bed immediately. I was angry. I was livid, and I swear that it took all my self-control for me not to throw that glass at their heads. Before a second thought, I slapped the wedding planner across the face. The fool had to be less than 24 years old at most. He was slimmer than a model, and I thought he was even gay. But no, the boy I was paying to plan my wedding was sleeping with my wife. Do you know the worst part? They didn't even have the decency to use a condom. I grabbed him by the shoulders and kicked him in the groin. Yes, Redditors, I kicked him there. Andrea jumped out of the bed and started pleading with me. She said she was sorry and blah, blah, blah. I didn't even have time to listen to her. I called out to my elder brother, whose room was just a few rooms away. I continued calling his name till he rushed into the room. He was also shocked to see what was going on. He rushed to my side and asked me if what he was seeing was true. Of course it was, and that's what I told him. I was disgusted, irritated, and disappointed. There are no words to describe the amount of disgust I felt for Andrea and the wedding planner. I felt betrayed, but at that moment, everything began to make sense to me. I finally understood why Andrea sneaked out of the hotel to go buy something the day before. Everything finally made sense to me, but it was just too late. There was nothing I could do because I was already married to her. I was married to a cheater, and she dared cheat on me on our own wedding day. I could not even look at Andrea or listen to her speak, and that's when I hatched my plan. I did not care if I was already married to her or whatnot. I needed to make her regret her actions. I needed to make her shiver in fear whenever she heard my name or even got remotely close to me. There was no way I was going to act like I did not just see what transpired before me. I had no reason to protect a marriage that had no respect for me. Just one look at my brother, and he already knew what I had in mind. He could tell that I wanted to disgrace them, so he asked me what to do. I told him to grab the wedding planner while I grabbed Andrea. He did as he was told, and that was how we grabbed them out of the room. My fellow Redditors, I know you all are wondering what we ended up doing to them. Well, I did what I could think of at that moment that would be extremely embarrassing. I wanted to make sure that I crushed their egos to the limit. You know the funny thing? The huge guest list Andrea and her family were so desperate to have worked to my own advantage. There were over 150 people present, which meant they did not listen to me. But guess what? It ended up ruining them at the end of the day. All the guests were already waiting for us at the reception, and so my brother and I dragged them to the reception hall. The wedding planner pleaded with me to let him at least put on his pants, but I refused. Yes, I refused. Do you think he just stood there and let my brother carry him? Oh no. He tried putting up a fight. But that was when I called on two of my other friends who came too, look for me and ask why we took so much time. So Redditors, 3 men dragged the wedding planner to the reception while I pulled Andrea and followed them. She cried, wailed, and begged for my forgiveness, but I ignored her like the filth she is. I did not care about her tattered clothes, messy hair, or almost exposed boobs. She's shameless, so she should not have a problem with being disgraced in front of the guests. Everyone stood up immediately when they saw us. I could see the obvious shock on their faces. I mean, they all came to witness a wedding, but they were seeing a naked man and almost naked woman. A woman that was supposed to be the bride. Andrea's family rushed towards us with obvious worry on their faces. My fellow Redditors, they looked horrified. They tried to cover her up, and her father even had the audacity to ask me if I was out of her mind. I ignored them and pushed Andrea to the stage with the wedding planner. My parents tried to talk to me and ask me what was going on, but I ignored them too. I was too angry to act reasonably or try to explain anything to anyone, so I just focused on what I wanted to do. Just as I went to grab the mic from the MC, Andrea tried running away, but my brother was able to grab her on time. Even the wedding planner did not dare move. He just squatted and hid his face because he was aware of his full nudity. His only saving grace was the towel that one of his employees threw to him. That's what he used to cover himself up. Using the mic, I told everyone how I just found my newly wedded wife sleeping with the wedding planner in her hotel room when she was meant to be changing into her reception dress. My fellow Redditors, I can still remember the gasps that echoed in the hall that day. Before I could even start the next sentence, people grabbed their phones and started recording the scene that was unfolding before them. For the first time in my entire life, I was happy to have a huge crowd present. I told everyone how Andrea must have been sleeping with this wedding planner for a long time. Well, I was not wrong, guys, because I discovered that they started having an affair the moment she hired him. You should not have allowed her to keep the wedding planner. Those were the words some people said to me. I laughed in their faces and called them cowards. It sounds stupid to try and blame me for someone else's poor choices. I should have stopped her from cheating. What's that supposed to mean? A person that wants to cheat will cheat. They don't need an excuse. Cheaters do not need to be given excuses for decisions they made when sober. Andrea tried to turn the tables around and tell me how I cheated on my date that night when we met. I had to explain to the fool that I was not even in a relationship with the girl I brought. She was my date to the wedding, and we were in the talking stage. I was not dating her, neither was I married to her. I was not her fiancé. Andrea was so dumbfounded that she had to hide her face from the cameras. At that moment, I knew I was done with her, and so I left the reception hall immediately. Thankfully, I'd not given the wedding planner his remaining balance for planning the wedding. Of course, I was not foolish enough to give it to him. I went to Andrea's hotel room with my brother and packed all the dresses she bought for the reception, the jewelry, and even her shoes and bags. I also grabbed her purse. I sold everything off 1 week later and kept the money for myself. I paid for the whole wedding. I might have wasted money on the reception, but I was able to get my money back from the outrageous designer bags and shoes. That's how my wedding ended 2 weeks ago, guys. Talk of plot twists, right? I decided to share this story with Reddit because I'm still shocked from the events. I've not seen Andrea since that day, and I do not plan to see her anytime soon. I filed for annulment the very next day after the wedding, and after a lot of procedures, our marriage will be annulled soon. I think it's right to say I had the worst wedding ever, lol. I'm just very thankful that I found out in time. It was already late, but it could have been worse. If she can cheat on our wedding day, what can't she do? I've freed myself from the marriage, and in a couple of days, I'll be legally free and single. Thank you for reading this disgusting experience of mine. I hope you learn a thing or two from my experience. Till next time, Reddit. I am a 26-year-old male who recently got married to a 24-year-old girl named Rachel. I mean, like exactly 3 weeks ago. I really thought that she was the one until my dreams of having the perfect marriage shattered. Everything seemed to be going well at first, but I soon discovered that Rachel had been hiding a significant secret from me. I found out that my wife had been cheating just a week after our wedding. This is what I did to get my perfect revenge. I met Rachel, my wife, maybe ex-wife, not really sure what to address her when I was 24. We both were in university and shared a few classes together. I was a nerd and did not pay much attention to my surroundings in university. I saw her at one of the university lectures that I was attending, and she was sitting across from me. I was so smitten by her beauty that I couldn't help but strike up a conversation with her after the lecture. She was not only beautiful, but also very smart and well aware of her surroundings. I could see that there were a lot of eyes on her when I started talking to her. I am not used to garner that much attention from people. She asked me a question which I did have an answer to, but I told her that I would get back to her on it. She snatched my phone from my hand and put in her contact details. I was very flustered by her actions. She came very close to my ear and said that she really wanted to know the answer. My ear turned red in an instant. She smiled and left. I could not get this incident out of my mind for days. I was contemplating on how I should get in touch with her. Should I just send the answer to the question, or should I ask her to meet me so that I could explain it to her? I decided to ask her to meet me at the university cafeteria to give her the answer. We had a lot of intellectual talks around chemistry. I was always aware that she had a lot of eyes on her. One thing that irked me about her was she never acknowledged our relationship openly in front of others. She also did not shy away flirting with anyone who showed even a slight bit of interest in her. This behavior made me question the authenticity of our connection and left me feeling insecure about our relationship. Despite our intellectual discussions, I couldn't help but wonder if she valued our bond as much as I did, or if I was just another person she enjoyed flirting with. She reassured me that she had eyes only for me. I had no choice but to trust her words. However, her actions continued to fuel my doubts. It was difficult for me to fully believe her reassurances when she consistently displayed flirtatious behavior towards others. I yearned for a relationship where our connection was acknowledged and cherished openly, which made me question if we were truly on the same page emotionally. She would openly flirt around with people to get her things done and come to me with love in her eyes. It was very difficult for me to read her. I wondered if she was this way with everyone, or was I special? Whenever my doubts rose, she would do something so special for me that I would think differently about her. She would make me believe that I was the one she wanted to be with. That made me both happy and filled with joy at the same time. She had this friend, Liam, who she told was her best friend. He was always around hanging out with her. As they had most of their classes together, I always found them together. Even when we would be on a date, he would either interrupt or come along with us. I had mentioned this to Rachel, that I don't feel that comfortable around him. She always dismissed it, stating that he is the one who understands her best and he really liked that I was her boyfriend. However, as time went on, I couldn't shake the feeling that Liam's presence was more than just friendship. There were moments when I caught him giving Rachel lingering looks or whispering things to her that made me uneasy. Despite my concerns, Rachel continued to assure me that there was nothing going on between them and that I was overreacting. We were on a date one day when, out of the blue, Rachel said that we should move in together. I was ecstatic. I had been hoping for our relationship to progress to the next level, and Rachel's suggestion made me feel incredibly happy and excited about our future together. The thought of sharing a home with her filled me with a sense of joy and anticipation, as we could now truly build a life together. Though it had been only 6 months for us, I felt that we were ready to take it to the next level. I was more than happy she was the one who had suggested this. All my doubts about her not being serious about our relationship vanished into thin air after her suggestion. It showed me that she was committed and invested in our future together. Moving in together would not only bring us closer, but also allow us to create a space that truly reflected our shared values and aspirations. I was so happy initially when we moved in together. She got her stuff and we tried to make it into our home. After the setting up, Rachel suggested that we should have a party. We called our friends over. Of course, she had much more friends than I did. As the night went on, people started leaving. At the end, it was just Rachel, Liam, and I. I was hoping that he would leave soon. I knew that Rachel would not appreciate it if I asked Liam to leave, so I was waiting for either one of them to realize that it's late and we should call it a night. As the night grew later, I couldn't help but feel a sense of discomfort lingering in the air. The exhaustion was starting to weigh on me, and I silently hoped that someone would suggest winding down and bidding farewell. However, the atmosphere remained lively, and I found myself anxiously awaiting a natural conclusion to the evening. I was almost dozing off when Rachel suggested that I go to the bedroom and rest. She kissed me goodnight and whispered, "Don't worry, I'll join you soon." Her comforting words eased my tiredness, and I obediently made my way to the bedroom, feeling grateful for her understanding and care. I woke up the next morning and saw Rachel was nowhere to be seen. I looked at the time and thought that she might have already left for her classes. I walked out of the room to see the mess from last night and clear it. As I walked toward the sofa, I saw something on the couch. I moved closer, still pretty sleepy and drunk from last night. It was hard to understand what it was. I slowly moved the comforter and was expecting it to be Rachel. As I moved the comforter, I saw Liam fast asleep. I was about to walk towards the kitchen when I saw something familiar. I moved the comforter further down, and there she was. Rachel was sleeping beside Liam with her clothes disheveled, and this brought me out of my hangover instantly. Memories of the previous night flooded back, and I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger and betrayal. I needed answers, but I also knew that confronting them in that moment would only lead to more chaos. I decided to leave for work, as there was no point in waking them up and confronting them now. I wanted them to be sober before I spoke to them. I left for work, but was filled with a mix of frustration and concern. It was difficult to focus on my tasks, constantly wondering what had happened the night before. As I anxiously waited for the day to end, I hoped that it was not what I was thinking. I quickly rushed home and noticed that Liam was still at home. I was both glad and angry. Glad that I could talk to both of them at the same time, and angry that Rachel did not ask him to leave. I asked them very coolly what happened last night. They both started laughing. I was getting impatient, and they were doing nothing to help me subside my anger. Rachel then told me that after I went to bed, they had a few more drinks and passed out on the couch. There was no way I was going to fall for such blatant lies. I was still looking at them to see if they would elaborate more on it. They just started talking among themselves about other things. It was as if I was invisible, and I standing there did not bother them. I could not take it anymore and walked into my room. After almost 1 hour, Liam finally left, and Rachel made her way into our bedroom. I did not pay any attention to her and was focusing on trying to read a book. She walked towards me and pulled the book from my hands. She then sat on my lap and started kissing me. I knew very well that I should not fall for her tactics and insist on more explanation regarding last night. But there was something about her that instantly made me think that I was the only one she truly loved. Maybe it was just a mistake. Maybe they were too sloshed to realize where and who they were sleeping with. After our steamy session, she said that if she knew that I was not the one on the couch, she would have found me and slept beside me. Though I wasn't fully convinced with their drunken story, I decided to let it slide. They had been friends for a really long time, and I know that things like these do happen at parties. I still had trust in my relationship with Rachel and wanted to give it a chance. It had been 1 year since we had been together. I decided that it was time for us to take our relationship to the next level. I had made all preparations to propose to her at her favorite restaurant with the cliché ring in the drink. I had butterflies in my stomach as I rehearsed the words I would say to her, hoping she would say yes. The thought of spending the rest of my life with her filled me with excitement and anticipation. I was panicking when the wine glasses arrived. I waited for her to take a sip and realized that there was a ring in the glass. When she did, she was still for like 15 seconds. I was scared that she would just walk away. I didn't know what was going through her mind. My heart had stopped beating in those few seconds. Finally, after a really long pause, she said yes and came towards me to kiss me. As we embraced, tears of joy streamed down my face. In that moment, I knew that our love was stronger than ever and that our future together was filled with endless possibilities. Rachel and I sat together to pick dates for our wedding. She asked that we should get married after she completed her degree. She was excited and wanted to be able to focus on all the aspects of planning the wedding without thinking about her assignments. We discussed the potential dates and agreed that it would be best to have the wedding during the summer break, giving Rachel ample time to relax and enjoy the celebration. Additionally, we decided to involve a wedding planner to alleviate any stress and ensure that everything goes smoothly on our special day. We shortlisted a wedding planner and also a few shops to buy other things from. I told Rachel that I would work on her assignments with her so that she has enough time to visit all the shops and venues to shortlist things. I was busy with my work and completing assignments for Rachel. I could hardly make time to visit the venues or the event planner. Rachel would take Liam along with her on her ventures. They were deciding on things on their own. I did feel a little left out, as it was me Rachel was getting married to and not Liam. I did bring that up to Rachel, expressing my concerns about feeling excluded from the wedding planning process. I explained that I wanted to be more involved and have a say in important decisions. Rachel understood my perspective and apologized for unintentionally leaving me out. We agreed to set aside dedicated time to discuss and make decisions together, ensuring that both of our voices were heard in the wedding preparations. The countdown had started for our wedding. There were 2 weeks left, and Rachel had to finalize her wedding dress. I wanted to tag along for the dress trial, but she said that it would be a surprise and did not want me to see her in the dress before the wedding. Liam had come to pick her up and they left. I did feel that Liam was getting too involved in the entire process, but as Rachel was being so comfortable around him, I decided that maybe he was also excited to see his best friend getting married. All the preparations were going as per the schedule, and there were no hiccups with anything. There was a dance that we were supposed to prepare for the wedding. At times, I would see Rachel and Liam practicing it when I was busy. I did feel hurt, but I knew that if I had been there, Rachel would be practicing with me. I made my peace with Rachel and Liam being friends and decided to focus on my own preparations for the wedding. It was important for me to remember that friendships can evolve and change, and that it didn't diminish the bond I shared with Rachel. Plus, seeing them practice together only motivated me to work harder on perfecting my part in the dance. Finally, it was the day of the wedding. I was restless and nervous at the same time, my heart pounding with anticipation. The months of planning and preparation had led up to this moment, and I couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and jitters. As I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie for the umpteenth time, I took a deep breath and reminded myself that everything would be perfect. I was waiting at the altar with bated breath, scanning the crowd for a glimpse of my soon-to-be spouse. The room was filled with the soft hum of anticipation, and as the music began to play, I felt a surge of emotion wash over me. This was it, the beginning of our forever together. She finally walked in, looking absolutely radiant in her wedding gown. The room seemed to hold its breath as she made her way down the aisle, and I couldn't help but be overcome with a sense of awe and gratitude. In that moment, I knew without a doubt that I was about to embark on the most incredible journey of my life. We took our vows with trembling voices, promising to love and cherish each other through thick and thin. The words felt weighty and profound, as if they were filling our souls together for eternity. With tears of joy streaming down our faces, we exchanged rings, symbolizing our commitment to one another. It was a sacred moment, filled with the promise of a lifetime of love and happiness. The pastor asked us to kiss and seal the wedding. We danced just like we practiced and celebrated with friends and family around. We headed to our honeymoon suite and lawfully enjoyed our night together. The next morning, we woke up feeling refreshed and excited to start our first day as a married couple. We decided on a honeymoon trip 6 months after my promotion. I wanted to take her for an exquisite trip, which she would remember for her lifetime. I wanted it to be the best holiday of her life. We spent 2 days in the hotel that was booked by my parents. We went home and unpacked our bags. This was our first day in this house after we were married. We just lay on the bed, enjoying the feeling of being newlyweds in our own home. As we cuddled and talked about our dreams and aspirations, we couldn't help but feel grateful for the love and happiness that surrounded us. We knew that this was just the beginning of a beautiful journey together, filled with countless more unforgettable moments and adventures. I started going to work 3 days after the wedding. Rachel was still on her summer break, so she was just chilling at home. I came home and noticed that Liam was already here. I thought that after our wedding, things would be different and he would give us space. However, it seemed like Liam had no intention of leaving anytime soon. I couldn't help but feel a sense of disappointment and frustration, as I had hoped for some alone time with Rachel to celebrate our newlywed status. I was trying to convey with my eyes to Rachel to ask Liam to leave, but she kept ignoring my silent pleas. It was becoming increasingly difficult to hide my growing impatience as Liam continued to make himself comfortable in our shared space. I couldn't help but wonder if Rachel was oblivious to my desire for privacy, or if she simply didn't want to confront the situation. I finally spoke out that it was getting late and Liam should probably leave since I still had to go to work tomorrow. Both Rachel and Liam looked shocked at my sudden statement. Rachel quickly apologized, explaining that she had no intention of invading my privacy and was genuinely concerned about my well-being. Liam, on the other hand, seemed taken aback and offered to leave immediately, realizing he had overstayed his welcome. I woke up the next morning and I saw that Liam was constantly sending messages to Rachel. I wondered if there was a problem or an emergency, so I decided to check her phone to see if there was urgency. As I was about to read those messages, Rachel snatched her phone from my hand and said that it was not cool to look into other people's phones. I was surprised by her reaction. I said that she doesn't need to be so defensive. It was just Liam and I was just concerned if he was in any problem. She dismissed it, stating that he was not in the right frame of mind and she needed to be there for him. She was very protective about him, so that is why she has been behaving that way. Well, he did not look disturbed or troubled yesterday when he was chilling out here. I made breakfast and left for work as Rachel was engrossed in her phone replying to Liam. I decided to get a few things straight today with regards to our space and how much of Liam's involvement would be appreciated. With that determination, I kissed her goodbye and left. I was working and the feeling of unease kept nagging at the back of my head. I decided to leave early from work and decided to take a walk. As I walked, I remembered one of the messages from Liam to Rachel asking her when he should come home. It was then that a sudden realization hit me, and I began to suspect that there might be something going on between Liam and Rachel that I wasn't aware of. I called in sick and left work. I reached home and saw Liam's car parked outside. My heart raced as I cautiously entered the house, unsure of what I might find. The sight of Liam and Rachel sitting closely on the couch, engrossed in conversation, confirmed my suspicions and sent a wave of anger and betrayal through me. I decided to wait and see what further unfolds between them. As I stood near the door, I saw them exchange a lingering glance before Liam leaned in and kissed Rachel. My world shattered in that moment, and I felt a mix of sadness and rage consume me. They started undressing each other, and I knew then that I couldn't just stand by and watch their affair unfold. I had to confront them and demand answers. I shattered the vase kept at the entrance. That brought both of them to reality. They froze and were shocked to see me at home at this hour. They had assumed I would still be at work, and the sight of me standing there amidst the broken pieces made their hearts sink. I was expecting them to panic and give me explanations, but what transpired was something I was not expecting. Rachel started laughing. Her laughter echoed through the room, breaking the tension that had filled the air. Confused, I looked at her, unable to comprehend her reaction. Meanwhile, Liam's expression shifted from shock to relief as he joined in on Rachel's laughter. I thought that I had lost my mind. I was left with disbelief at their reaction, wondering if there was something I had missed or if they were playing some kind of prank on me. It felt surreal to see them laughing instead of providing the explanations I had anticipated. I was raging with anger and asked Liam to leave my house immediately. I needed to talk to my wife alone. Rachel asked him to leave, and he did. I asked her to explain what she was doing kissing Liam. She smirked and told me to have a seat. She said that she needed a scapegoat to complete her assignments, and I seemed like the perfect candidate. Though she never showed any interest in me, I was the one always willing to do things for her. She was expecting it not to escalate to this level. But as time went by, she and Liam had decided that it would be funny to use me for all their needs. She used me to help her with finishing her degree at the university. I was feeling so devastated. She would have just asked me for my help instead of making me go through all this. She was smiling and laughing, disclosing all this to me. She even told me that I was such a dork who thought that a girl like him would even think of marrying a beauty like her. She could get any guy to fall for her just by flipping her hair. Liam had always been her true love. They made this plan of using me both intellectually and financially for their needs. She told me that I was not only doing Rachel's but also Liam's assignments. Feeling betrayed, I confronted Rachel about their ulterior motives. She confessed that she had been manipulating Liam as well, exploiting my emotions and trust. It became clear that our relationship had been built on deceit and manipulation, leaving me devastated and questioning everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty. It was her idea to make use of me, and even if things went south, I could be fooled by some crap story that they could cook up. She was expecting to play along for some more time before she got bored of me and left me. It was getting more and more difficult for me to breathe, listening to Rachel coming clean about how she and Liam very carefully approached me for their own benefit. She told him how they had been goofing around with each other even in my presence, but I was so stupid to think that they were just friends. They enjoyed making a fool out of me and often challenged each other to hug or kiss in front of me without getting caught. Everything about the wedding was decided by them, and I was just there as a prop. She even told me that the day she went for her dress trial, they had a steamy quickie in the dressing room. She wanted Liam to be the first one to see her and feel her in that dress. I could not believe that she was the same girl who I had fallen for. After spouting all kinds of nonsense to my face, she went to our bedroom and took a nap. I was left there still, unable to comprehend what just happened. I must be dreaming. It's just a bad dream. When I wake up, all this will be over. I was still in denial that this was happening to me. There were a lot of red flags even during the preparations of our wedding that I had turned a blind eye towards. I now wish I could have been much more rational and decided to follow my gut. There were instances where many people I knew had come up to me and suggested that I reconsider the decision of marrying her. But me being me, blinded by love, I did not pay any attention to my friends' suggestions. Now, when I look back, I had so many opportunities to call off the wedding, but had been stupid enough to still go ahead with it. It was all in front of my eyes. Liam was always at home when I was gone. He would always tag along with us, and they would have hushed conversations. He would keep checking her out all the time while going to a party. They would sit too close to each other, often forgetting that I was also with them. It was all my fault that I was so blinded by love that it was all right there but did not want to see it. It took me 2 days to realize what Rachel and Liam had done to me. I decided that I can't sit here pitying myself. Rachel had left yesterday with Liam for dinner and asked me to leave the house before they were back. They did not even have the audacity to apologize to me for making my life into a joke. I made up my mind not to let this go so easily. I can't be Rachel's puppet anymore. I had to do something to redeem myself and not look like a loser. They had no shame and were laughing their hearts out after being caught cheating. I left the house and I was thinking of how I could take my revenge. I started thinking of ways to make them regret this. As I was scrolling through my laptop to find my options, I received a notification from Rachel's university for the deadline to submit an assignment. Oh yes, I completely forgot that I was still logged into her university account. And just like that, I knew exactly what I should be doing. I logged into her account and changed the password so that I have access to everything. I went through her subjects and looked into everything that needs to be submitted or completed before a deadline. I made a note of everything and started formulating my plan. I knew that she cared so much about graduating that she even faked it to love me and got married to me. If that is something she cares about, that is what I need to stop her from having. You steal something precious from me, I do the same to you so that we get even. That's how you live your life, at least that is what my mind kept telling me. I had always suspected that her love for me was not genuine, but I never imagined she would go to such lengths to secure her graduation. It became clear that her priorities were solely focused on achieving academic success, even if it meant deceiving me in the process. In order to level the playing field and make her understand the consequences of her actions, I felt compelled to retaliate and take away something equally valuable from her life. This was the only way I could ensure she truly comprehend the impact. I started my work on her assignments. I filled them with garbage. I sent explicit emails to her professors, which included graphic images of her trying to seduce them as well. I wanted to cover all bases, My only focus was to get her expelled. I knew that she could not plead guilty to her professors and let them know that she shared her login credentials with someone else. That would get her in trouble, as they would know that she was not the one doing her assignments. Either way, she would get expelled from university and not graduate. It looked like a foolproof plan. Within a day, she got to know what I had done. She and Liam came to my old house where I had started living after leaving our house that we recently purchased. I showed them in and sat there sipping my coffee. I knew that I had to act cool and let them have their say. Rachel started talking and asked me what I had done. I acted dumb. I asked her to remind me what exactly she was talking about. She said that I ruined her life by intentionally submitting crap assignments and also sending emails to her professors that were vulgar. She was devastated and couldn't understand why I would do such a thing. Liam, on the other hand, was furious and demanded an explanation for my actions. As they both continued to express their anger and disappointment, I started laughing hysterically. I told them that they looked too funny right now. They had nothing much to say and left. It did look like an achievement after what they had done to me. I thought that I would be satisfied by this, but I wasn't. The anger and rage did not die down. I knew Rachel was very good at telling stories and knew that all her professors adored her. She might be able to get out of it and still graduate. I had another idea in my head. The house that she and Liam were living in was under her name. I called my bank and asked them to take my name off the monthly payments and add my wife's name to it. The manager agreed to it. The same way, I made sure all the bills were put under her name, as I had taken this house to move in with her. She had the responsibility to pay up for everything that I had spent on her so far. Till this point, I was taking care of all the bills as I loved her. Now there was no need to do anything for her. She and her good-for-nothing boyfriend, Liam, can handle all of this. I decided to move from this old house as well so that they don't track me down again. So this is what it has come to. 3 weeks ago was the happiest day of my life. I was imagining spending the rest of my life with someone so cunning and cruel. Today, I am left with nothing but sadness and anger. I was so gullible and naive to think that I could be worthy of love. I had believed that I had finally found someone who truly cared for me, but now it feels like a cruel joke. The pain of this betrayal cuts deep, leaving me questioning my self-worth and doubting my ability to trust again. I would like your support to know if you think what I have done is right and what I should do going forward. Never once did I imagine that my life would take such a drastic turn after meeting Rachel, who I thought was the love of my life. Update. Thank you for all the love and tones of advice that you guys sent across. Rachel had showed up at my work a few times asking me to pay the bills and the mortgage of the house. I told her that they were not under my name and I am not liable to pay any of it. She threatened me with divorce, which I knew was coming. I asked her to file for it and I am willing to go to court. I knew she did not have the money to hire a lawyer, and she was already in trouble with her assignments as I was not there to do them for her. I was finally feeling a sense of joy looking at her all stressed about things which she never had to worry about when she was with me. This should be a lesson to her to realize what she had lost in her selfish desires. I could see it on her face, the regret and the pain of deceiving me. I was meeting a lawyer for lunch when I saw her walking on the street. I didn't even want to give her 2 seconds of my life, so I just turned the other way. I noticed that she had entered the restaurant with another man. They sat at a table across from me, her head facing me. I first was expecting it to be a lawyer. I was hoping for Liam to follow her around like always. Something about the whole setup didn't feel right. The lawyer looked at where I was seeing and said that he was a businessman who had a new escort with him every time he went out to eat. So now this is what she was doing. Seducing rich old men to pay her bills. No wonder people say karma is a bitch. She had a wonderful life with me. All she had to do was forget her past and live a happy life with me. I have finally moved on from Rachel and the haunting experiences she gave me. She did teach me a lesson though. Never blindly believe a girl who is too hot and intelligent at the same time. They always have ulterior motives. Always question what they are going to get out of you, and also make sure that you get something out of them if you already know that you are going to get used by them. Well, I am not the kind of person who should be giving advice to others, but I would like to say to all the young people out there not to fall too early and too fast in love. Always, always look for the red flags. Don't be blind like me. And please learn something from my mistakes. Listen to people around you, which I know can be difficult when you are smitten by love. Been there, done that. Choose your partner for life very, very carefully. And if something is bothering you, please speak up and ask them to choose. Don't be an idiot like me. I know this is all a rant. Let me just end it here. Take care, everyone, and thanks for listening.